Hello everyone, welcome back to another video from Shomu's Biology. We are discussing about exotoxins and their mechanism of action. In this lecture, we are going to talk about the botulinum toxin mode of action. Okay, so again, let me write it down here. So botulinum toxin mode of action is something that we discuss today. So first of all, we know that the botulinum toxin is bipartite nature and it has a bipartite nature and it is an exotoxin. And this is a neurotoxin. And the job of botulinum toxin is to cause a flaccid paralysis. Okay, that means it causes the muscle cells not to contract. That means muscle cells will remain in a relaxed state when the botulinum toxin in action. Why such thing happens? That is what we will understand with this mechanism of action lecture. So to understand this, you need to know where exactly this botulinum toxin works. It works in a neuromuscular junction. Neuromuscular junction. And what do you mean by neuromuscular junction? That we have this muscle. This is our muscle layer. It's better to draw muscle layer with red color actually. This is muscle layer. Okay. So this is muscle. And what we have here is a neural layer. Okay, this is neural layer. So the axon terminal, this is, and this is muscle layer. This is muscle layer and this is the nerve terminal. So this is nerve terminal, and there is a gap between the nerve terminal, the axon terminal, and the muscle, and this is known as neural groove. We can say this is neural groove or neural cleft. You can say either of this. So you can call it as a neural cleft or synaptic, better way, synaptic cleft. Okay, because this is where the end of the nerve interacts to the muscle and a little gap between the two. Now, in order to understand what is the mode of action of botulinum toxin, you need to know how exactly normal muscle contraction works. Means how nerve cells signals the muscle to contract or relax. There are chemicals found inside the vesicles in this nerve terminal. Those chemicals are known as neurotransmitters. Okay, and here the neurotransmitter is acetylcholine, which is known to be a excitatory neurotransmitter, acetylcholine. So upon release of acetylcholine from the nerve terminal to the muscle, there are receptors on the surface of the muscle which are acetylcholine receptor. Once the acetylcholine binds to this receptor, the muscle will contract. And there is a whole process of muscle contraction, the whole mechanism of how muscle contraction is done. That is a separate deal. We are not going to talk about that. But know the impact. Once the acetylcholine interacts to the acetylcholine receptor in the muscle, it causes contraction. That's why it is known as excitatory neurotransmitter, because it excites our muscle to contract. There are other neurotransmitters known as repressor or inhibitory neurotransmitters. Example, GABA, gamma aminobenzoic acid, or glycine. These act as inhibitory neurotransmitters. So they prevent the muscle contraction and allows the muscle to be relaxed. But our concern here is this one, acetylcholine. Now this acetylcholine is filled in this vesicle. But in order to fuse this acetylcholine or release this acetylcholine to this synaptic cleft, a proper fusion of this vesicle with the nerve terminal membrane is needed, and for that they have different sort of structures. Zipping proteins. Okay, one such zipping protein's name is synaptobrevin. The zipping protein that comes from the vesicles is known as synaptobrevin, and there are zipping proteins that are present here from the nerve terminal known as SNAP25 and syntaxin. SNAP25 and syntaxin. Now what happens is, when this synaptobrevin and SNAP25 or syntaxin, they are like a zipper. So while they both come closer, they'll zip like a zipper. So once the zipping is done, this vesicle will be in touch to the nerve terminal membrane, and there will be release of acetylcholine. And once acetylcholine is released, it will bind to the muscle acetylcholine receptor, and contraction will begin. This is a normal mechanism of action of acetylcholine in very simple words. Now what happens when botulinum toxin is present? Let's imagine this red one. This is a botulinum toxin. And this botulinum toxin binds to the botulinum toxin. There is a receptor on the surface of this nerve terminal. Okay? Gets entry. And once getting entry, again botulinum toxin along with its counterpart. What was B? Botulinum toxin is A unit and blue one is the B unit. With the help of the B subunit, the botulinum toxin interact to the receptor on the surface of the nerve terminal, engulfed inside, and then inside the botulinum toxin's A subunit is released. It's free. And the job of this botulinum toxin's A subunit is to cut all these zip proteins, which are known as snare proteins. Snare proteins. So the example of snare protein here, synaptobrevin, syntaxin, SNAP25, they are all cleaved. They are all cleaved. As the snare proteins are cleaved by botulinum toxin's A subunit, no further zipping event is possible. As there is no zipping event possible, there is no release of acetylcholine and there is no muscle contraction. So the muscle will remain relaxed. This is termed as flaccidity of the muscle. The muscle is relaxed. There is no contraction to the muscle, no rigidity to the muscle. That's why when botulinum toxin is present, it causes flaccid paralysis to the body. Okay? This is the mode of action of botulinum toxin. Neurotoxin, bipartite nature, part of exotoxins. Got it? If you get the mechanism clear, please hit the like button, share this video with your friends and subscribe to this channel to get more videos like that in future. And watch the next lecture on the mechanism of action of diphtheria toxin and also mechanism of action of cholera toxin.